Good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening, Harry, to everybody who's joined. This is the Unboxing AI webinar series, and I think today is the 40th episode. So we've been doing this for almost 40 weeks in a row. I think we skipped 1 week in the middle, and absolutely honored to have a good friend, life coach, mentor, Dr. Saurabh Jha with us today. For those of you who don't know, this is the Unboxing AI webinar by CARPL. We do this every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. No matter what, and we get CARPL's friends, collaborators, customers to come share their experiences, their thoughts about AI and anything else at all that there may be. And for those of you who are joining for the first time in this webinar, the reason we do a webinar and not a podcast is simply because I don't think I have all the questions to ask. So the idea is for it to be interactive. Please do not hesitate to ask your questions. You can use the chat box, you can use the Q&A, you can WhatsApp me, you can WhatsApp Harry, whatever works. Feel free to shoot your questions. And if you've been living under a rock and you do not know what CARPL is, we are your friendly neighborhood AI platform, bridging the gap between AI companies and radiologists, getting all of those beautiful AI solutions to the fingertips of doctors out there. And today our guest is, like I said, Dr. Saurabh Jha. He goes by Harry. Interesting story there as well. While many of us may know Harry as as a cardiothoracic radiologist at University of Pennsylvania and as an academic, I think Harry, you once described yourself to me as an accidental radiologist, and you should have been a writer and a traveler. So Harry has been now on sabbatical in India, traveling all over India for how long now, Harry? Like 4 months?
3 months.
3 months, correct.
My wife thinks it's 6 months, but it's actually 3 months.
I don't blame it. It's actually 6, Harry, if you think it's 6.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
So Harry, tell us what has been the weirdest thing you've seen in the last 3 or 6 months, as you describe it.
Well, I guess I wouldn't say it's the weirdest thing, but it's perhaps the most interesting thing about India are the dogs, right? The stray dogs, that they always manage to sleep in the middle of the road, and they always get a nap, even though there's traffic, and they always move their tail just far enough that the car can go through. It's precision canine
Sleeping.
behavior, precision sleeping. I don't know how they do it.
That's very interesting, right? Because I think, I have not seen a stray dog anywhere outside India, at least where I've gone. That is so interesting, right? And we make it so, we think of it as so normal. So Harry, tell us, we spoke earlier today about the webinar, and one of the things we thought was getting your opinion on how technology has evolved through the ages, and where we are today, and what's your take on that, like especially from a medical perspective. How do you think historically technology has evolved, and where does it go from here? And I'd love to also, if you can touch upon the play that you've written, and the technology you've kind of unknowingly, I think, showcased
Yeah.
in that play. Would love to hear that story from you, please.
Yeah, let's start off with your first question, which is about the technological evolution. And I think that your question is very appropriate in the context of AI, because a lot of people view AI as some sort of, this unique element that's somehow going to disrupt society. And if you go back 200 odd years, I think the same was said about the machines, the tractors and other things during the Industrial Revolution. So if you take AI as in the long history of technological advancement and evolution, you'll realize that it's just another automating tool, another tool that takes away labor. And I mean labor in the broadest sense. I don't just mean picking up bricks. I mean, like the radiologist is also doing labor through the visual and cognitive work. So automation is what previously required labor, and now the marginal cost of that productivity is zero because the machine's doing it. And so since history, there's always been this fear that the machine's going to take over the job, but that's not been the case. In fact, what has happened is that it's led to a change in the jobs. We used to have skies that used to take care of the grass, and the farmers would use skies to cut the grass, and then tractors came along, but guess who was driving the tractors? The farmers were, because they're the ones who knew the farmland. So the tractors didn't displace the farmers, just required them to have new skills, which they didn't hitherto have. And it's been shown that none of these automating tools have actually led to net reduction in jobs, because in the end, what they all end up doing is increasing net demand. And India is a big place where you're just seeing the beginning of the demand for healthcare that will come from democratization and digital health. And AI is going to add to that. AI is just simply going to lead to more opportunity for people to have an answer that requires some sort of trained individual to help process. And so we should view AI as an automating tool. It should be viewed in a very abstract sense as no different to a tractor. But for some reason, I don't know, I think it may just have been Jeff Hinton. He gets mentioned in every AI talk, so it's inevitable. And the Silicon Valley VCs, the whole framing of AI has been very incorrect. And if you and the way to frame it is that it's just an evolution. I'll get to the play, but I'll point out one other thing, which is that in medicine, it's fair to say medicine is no stranger to technology, but medicine is also no stranger to one other thing, which is that doctors have evolved their practice.
Yep.
They've changed what they've done. In the past, doctors used to put IV lines. Then it was deemed too onerous or not time efficient for doctors to do it. And so you had non-physicians doing it. Then physicians moved to central lines. And then that was central lines guided by ultrasound. And then, now we have a PIC team that puts in PIC lines and doctors do something else. So our job has always changed. And maybe this is a temporary thing. Radiologists seem to be the only ones that seem to be resisting this reality. Like, if you're still doing what you did 30 years ago, I think there's something wrong in that. So that's the. So if you have any thoughts on that.
So Harry, I think, so obviously, we've talked about this before as well. And, I look at least from a healthcare perspective, I try to draw a lot of parallels between the world of lab medicine and pathology, and the future of radiology. Like, you put in blood, you get out a number, and 99 times out of 100, a pathologist or a microbiologist or a biochemist is auto signing out those reports. But it's not just that you get out a number, you auto sign. There's a lot of control systems at the back end. There's a lot of both deterministic and non-deterministic stuff happening there, guardrails, etc., that give you the confidence at, say, a Quest Diagnostics, or here in India, like a Lal Path Labs, to sign out like 5,000 patients a day just in one click. So I think at least that's the way I think of it. And also, I think there have never been enough doctors for the number of patients that are there ever. right? And I don't see how that is changing. It is not. It's actually becoming worse, right? We're seeing, would love your thoughts on also on the ground in the US, especially, like how does this manifest, right? How does the demand supply gap between this increasing number of scans because people are living longer, disease is getting detected earlier, there's new diseases we have to deal with, you know, how is that playing out on ground?
Yeah, yeah. I think there are multiple things that you said that come together, converge. One is that one is example used in pathology where a lot of things have been automated, and um, certainly in radiology that can be done too. And the problem is that when you say that, people just have this reaction. Like I've made the case that chest X-rays should be automated. There's no point radiologists being the loop. Why? Because the chest X-ray has lost all inferential value. Because all you use it for these days is to really see where the lines of tubes are, what the state of the lungs are, and whether there's a pneumothorax. So you don't need a medical degree to do that. You could train a 14-year-old to do that. Oh, I'm sorry to say that. So you have to relinquish this stuff because there is definitely a shortage of radiologists, but this shortage is exacerbated by the fact that radiologists are doing low cognitive burden work because they're not willing to relinquish that. And in some ways, I think they're enjoying doing it because it just means that they can just shut their mind off, work for 8 to 5, read 300 X-rays, and they're done. They're actually comfortable doing that. But it is not the appropriate use of their license, societal use. I mean, radiologists measuring lung nodules is just, it shouldn't happen. Measure, document it, put it in the notes, compare to the prior exam. AI should be doing that. So there's a shortage, and that shortage is exacerbated by the fact that radiologists are doing low cognitive work. So definitely AI has a role in that. But culturally, radiologists need to start giving these things up. We instituted an extender program, which was non-physician doing chest X-ray work, and that led to a hoo-ha amongst the radiologists. I mean, they were throwing their toys out of a
Harry, your
pram.
voice seems to be a little muffled. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know why. Now it's better somehow,
Yeah.
magically.
So
Yeah.
I hope you caught the last bit because I really want to say this.
Yeah.
We've instituted an extender program. It's a non-physician reading chest X-rays, and it created a brouhaha amongst radiologists. They were throwing the toys out of the pram because they couldn't. Because the problem, I mean, the professional insecurity in this profession
So
is
just
incredible.
so that we understand that correctly. So radiologist extender program is basically a non-radiologist creating
Yeah,
a draft report. Is it a doctor or
and
a paramedic, or
a
is it
non-radiologist measuring things because that's what the chest X-ray report really is.
a
The ET tube,
non-radiologist or non-doctor?
non-physician.
Non-physician.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
incredible. Yeah.
yeah. The endotracheal tube is 3 centimeters above the criner. Yep. I mean, God, I wish I could redo that. That requires 6 years of bloody medical school. And so the problem here is that, whenever you talk about AI, you must also talk about radiologists, but there's a cultural issue in this profession that it just has this level of insecurity that is incredible. And if it doesn't deal with it, then somebody else, then the ICU doctor is going to say,
Yeah.
let's just have AI reading chest radiographs, and it's a cross, and you just hear platitudes. And I've already had this is my first old fashioned, by the way. So in case you're
Okay.
blaming
No,
alcohol,
this is my first drink also.
yeah,
So
in case you're blaming alcohol for my candor, that would be unfair of on alcohol.
no, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
We we reached out to all of our common connections on LinkedIn, and everybody was very excited to listen to the non-alcoholic candor. So
it'll get worse in half an hour, but at least for half an hour, I'm going to be
no,
dignified.
but Harry, on a serious note, right? What do you think of a future where uh, clinicians, say neurologists, start reading brain MRs? or, cardiologists, they already kind of do it. Start reading cardiac angiograms. Oncologists start reading PET scans, so on and so forth. Like, yeah, and the reason I'm calling out the non surgical specialties is because they have the time and they have the patient connect to actually do it. Now imagine a neurologist assisted by AI, whatever, cardiologist assisted by AI. Do you think that could be a tough threat that could come in?
Few thoughts on that. It certainly could,
Especially if they're
but
paid for it, right? If somebody's paid, say, I don't know, the same amount of money a radiologist is paid to read a brain MR, uh, they might actually do it.
yeah, so a few issues, a few thoughts here. The first is, yes, it could certainly happen. The second is, it's even more imperative that radiology actually manages AI in order that it becomes the gatekeeper of AI. Although
Mm,
there's no legal gatekeeper, but what ends up becoming the gatekeeper as a result of having the greatest understanding. But the third point is slightly, may sound flippant, but it isn't. Which is that if your job can be replaced by AI, then perhaps it should. So if you do have a scenario where the neurologist plus AI means you don't need the radiologist, and I know I'm being slightly naive because there are lots of,
nuances,
you
yeah.
know, yeah, but fundamentally, I think as a general rule, if you aren't able to provide, if the computer can replace you, then it probably should.
So I think Harry, the reason I call this out is because turf wars in medicine are real, right? And we've seen it happen with interventional cardiology. Interventional radiology also. There's always gray areas. So that's why I call it out. But in the physician extender program, in the radiologist extender program, how was liability handled?
Radiologists,
Okay, so the
yeah, yeah.
radiologist is just getting an output of sorts.
A
Uh,
radiologist is just getting somebody to do work that a high school student can do.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's chest X-ray reporting is the lowest common denominator. I say that as somebody that's the chest radiologist. Um, People will say, well, the chest X-ray is very, sophisticated, but it isn't. In the end, it's just it. It is can be sophisticated, but the way we use it, the way we tend to use it every 6 hours just to see what the lines and tubes are doing, it's lost the the that value.
Got it. Got it. Cool.
So
So yeah, let's switch gears a little bit, Harry. I do want you to talk about the play that you've written here. So also, what you've been up to in India, like, quick spiel on that, would be awesome. And then, yeah, what's the play you've written, and how does that how did you unknowingly put AI into it, or maybe you did it knowingly? I don't know.
we wrote a play called Doctor's Trilemma for Ashoka University, where the undergraduates just did their performance today about a doctor, idealistic doctor, in a rural hospital who uh, incurs mob violence because he fails to save the life of a patient bitten by a snake. And essentially, the irony is that he's gone there because he wants to escape modernity. But the very moment he's confronted with the situation, he uses ChatGPT to tell him how to deal with a snake bite. And partly that was to say that ultimately AI will diffuse very quickly in India, because in the end, India's digital infrastructure is like having an expressway all the way into the villages. The history of 4G and 3G is so interesting. Even when you take the corruption, the scams, It's interesting because of how the price just dropped dramatically, and where people couldn't get television sets, fridges, or even electricity, they had data and Wi-Fi, or no
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, and that's incredible when you think about the possibility for what digital health in general and AI in particular can do. And I think we're just seeing the surface of that. And India is definitely going to lead in that because of that particular. Well, two things. One is it has the infrastructure. So that means that people are already streaming videos
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
villages.
Yeah.
And it has a need. Once you have the need, then that is something that surpasses anything else. One of the big reasons why AI is having such a difficulty being adopted en masse in the United States is because there is need, but everything has to have a business model, a return of investment. In
Yeah.
India, the return of investment is the fact that there's no doctor. Now there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that it's great. I mean, I think that once you have that, and if you have some sort of hub and spoke model, you'll end up increasing the workload for the doctors in those nearest towns
Yeah.
and cities. Or I don't know what they're called, tier 4 or tier 3 cities, but whatever they are. Any city that has a population of 100 to 1,000 has stuff there, like CT scans um, uh, so AI will increase the workload
Yeah.
for physicians in neighboring cities. So the question isn't, can we get AI there? The answer to that, of course, is yes. The bigger question is, can you cope with the increased demand that you're going to have as a result of the democratization of medical care from AI?
So Harry, on that note, and great thought. But so Bhanushri has just posted a question. Hey Harry, what change will you implement after you reach back to the US? Based on what you've learned here during your sabbatical.
She should be more specific, because the first change I'm going to do is make sure that the food is tastier. So I presume she's
Have
not
you have
talking
you gotten
about
have you gotten used to tasty food now?
it's going to be really bad when I go back. The vegetables are so tasty. So I presume she means related to AI.
Either AI
So
or healthcare in general, right? Harry, you've visited a few hospitals also. You've been all over the place now. So within your sphere of influence, what is it that you'd like to change or you try to change?
you do need to have a team that is just beyond AI. I would say that you should probably have a digital health team.
Mhm.
I think the whole AI thing is way too narrow, because you have like an indication and you have AI for that indication, and there's nothing that's broader than that. So I think you should have a digital health team that looks at not just the AI, but the whole digital health strategy. Um, Amongst other things, I was actually, quite impressed by the fact that when you offer people anything that has some sort of app-based electronic solution, its uptake is just quite immense and sudden and dramatic. I'll give you the example of 1MG,
Yeah,
the company whose founder you introduced me to, Prashant Tundon, and they can shop around for MRIs across the city.
yeah,
So America should be able to do that too. America should be able to shop around and book for appointments throughout the city. And it may well be that they may just choose one institution, but they should have that problem. They should have that option. So I think when you see what's being offered over here, and when you see an economy that's so much larger and healthcare spending is so much greater, it does make you wonder why you don't have the same digital health infrastructure in the US. And I think that's probably because I think there are just some very, very clunky systems out there that make this sort of endeavor very difficult.
Interesting. Nice. So, we've got another question from Mukul Pandya from Knowledge at Wharton. He says that Saurabh correctly noted that AI is one in a long line of tech innovations. What can be learned from the way in which such innovations have been dealt with historically that can guide the way healthcare providers can manage the AI transition? So, what can we learn from the past, healthcare specifically?
Hello, Mukul. Very good to see you. He has got me to work on a paper which I haven't, so a little scared.
I think this is a gentle reminder.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is that the history shows that no automation tool has led to net reduction in jobs. It's increase in jobs because it's either increase in demand for the service that was automated, or indirectly by making that service cheaper, it's led to more money in the pocket. That's led to demand for other services. So the net jobs has increased. Having said that, there is a phase of temporary, um, adjustment or maladjustment. You must have heard of this. The Luddites, the people that fear technology, actually comes from this guy Ned Ludd, who was this English guy who smashed the machines in a fit of rage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there is going to be a period of discomfort. And what I think radiology needs to do as a society is to anticipate that and to mitigate that, because adjustment is just going to take time. So I think on the whole, we will increase the demand for jobs, for human jobs, labor, I should say. But there may be periods of confusion and periods where it just appears as if things are not going the right way. That's what history says. The adjustment period is there, but overall, the impact is good.
No, that's fantastic, Harry, and I think that's a great note to end on. The demand is going to go up as cost goes down, and there have never been enough doctors for the number of patients that are out there, and hence healthcare is expensive. And hopefully, AI kind of bridges all of that by addressing the triple aim as access, affordability, quality, all three. So yeah, no, and happy travels. I know you've got a bunch of travel ahead of you as well. uh Take care, and thank you to everybody for joining. Means a lot. We'll see you here next time, same place, whatever. See you. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.